Thank you. Yeah, I'm Bob Walker. I'm from Blue Hill, and I've been living in the state of Maine since 1973. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, fairly recently retired, but still active, hopefully, in maybe more the political end of things. I've been practicing, as I say, full-time since 1973, providing a general practice of OB/GYN. I've delivered maybe 5,000 babies, but I've also been involved with providing abortion services, and I've done a number of these over the years, mostly for my own patients, my own practice. I was not out seeking, but found that in this setting that, and this brings up what we're here for today, is to oppose these, frankly, anti-abortion bills that are going to chip away at a woman's right to choose. Over the years, a number of the topics that these bills take up, including informing patients of what they're getting into, providing information about alternatives, and suitable waiting period and so forth, have really all been in place. There's no need to change anything. Practically, it takes us to organize things, to provide information to the patient more than 24 hours, so that I would see a patient in the office, we would talk at great length about the risks of the procedure, and that's been in place for all time as far as I'm concerned, because it is a surgical medical procedure that we're performing, a very safe one that's been looked at for years and years around the country, around the world. And so that the time constraint is worrisome, because it really is an effort to chip away at a woman's right to have access to these procedures. I'm also concerned about if we continue to chip away, and I may be a person who worries too much, but I want to give a little vignette about, just a very brief one, about my experience in New York State before I moved to Maine. I entered my residency in 1970. In 1971, New York State was one of the first states to provide access to abortions by law. And then, of course, in 1973, the nation was provided with this access. When I first arrived, the first year, I was in the emergency room a lot, and we saw what we thought was an extraordinary number, and this was for me a new thing, of miscarriages, of threatened abortions, and we did a lot of B's and C's. Then we had no access to ultrasound, we had no access to really very good blood tests for pregnancy testing. So we were in this state of providing a lot of D's and C's for these young women that came through the emergency room. Once the law was passed in 1971, we were all trained to provide abortion services. Now, not everybody in my residency group availed themselves of this because of their feelings and so forth, but those of us who availed ourselves of it were able to provide in a widespread way through Rochester, New York, which is where I was, abortion services. And within a year, we found that the number of these folks coming in with threatened miscarriages dropped off to practically nothing. I mean, to what we would expect would be the normal rate. In other words, there were people out there, maybe back alley people, maybe people so desperate that they instrumented themselves, who were coming in to have us complete their abortions in a reasonable, safe way in the emergency room. So I as I say, I may be a crying wolf sort of person, but I do feel that that little vignette tells us that if we're not careful, that if we make abortions too hard to get a hold of, that we may go back to the dark ages in our profession. So that's about all I wanted to say. So, thank you.